Hello, welcome to Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine. My name is Mary Bear Shannon. I am a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library. And again, this is Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine. I am coming to you via Facebook Live from my home in Havertown. We have been doing this show since we shut down the library in March and everybody had been staying home. We thought it would be a good idea for us to share recipes and substitutes for things that we can't get at the grocery store or things that we're just not going to go out for one item. And so we thought this would be a good place, not only the Facebook Live event, but also our Facebook group, Kickin' Cook by the same name, Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine, for us to talk about food, to celebrate the food that we are sharing with our loved ones, the ones that we are spending all this time with, and to share recipes and pictures of the things that we're cooking. Again, my name is Mary Bear Shannon. I'm a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library, and this is Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine. Just a couple of things before we begin. If you didn't know already, the library is open. We opened in mid-July, and we are open for browsing at the Haverford Township Free Library. You can order things through our hold service. You can also order things via curbside pickup, or you can just come in and browse our shelves. We do have our most recent collections, the things that have just arrived that are on our just arrived shelves. They've got some of our old classics for you to browse and to check out. Give the reference desk a call if you need recommendations for books. But we are really glad to see you all again. We missed you while we were closed, and we are glad to be able to serve our community again with our doors open. We are still doing programming on Facebook, as well as things eventually show up as videos on our YouTube channel. Along with Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine, the reference librarians are daily giving recommendations for books through a program called Reading with Reference. We're also continuing to do our Wine and Words Wednesday, every Wednesday at 5, where we share short stories and poems while you have your adult beverages at the end of your day, whether you're doing it from home or whether you are going to an office. So anyway, Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine. We have been talking in the last couple of weeks about the fact that it's just too hot to turn on the stove and cook at this moment, because it's just been so hot for the last couple of weeks. And what I wanted to talk about was one of the things that I've been thinking about is just a classic summer food that I am actually going to use in my demonstration today, and that's watermelon, which is one of my favorites. It really, to me, just says summer. I mean, you can now get watermelons pretty much year-round. I don't think they're as good on the off season. I think a good local watermelon is and cold from either your refrigerator or I guess, in olden days, sitting in the creek is really the best way to enjoy a watermelon, and not something that came from a long way away, but something local. The nice thing is the watermelon that I'm going to use today came from my CSA, my fruit share that I get every week. And so I'm really excited about being able to use something from that share for our dish today. Watermelons are one of those things that, like I said, is just synonymous with summer. I just had one quote. I don't have more than one, but this one I thought was really good. This quote about watermelon: "Life is like eating a watermelon. You know you're going to get some seeds. Just spit them out and take another bite," which I think is great. But a couple of things about watermelon that I'd like to share before we get started. Watermelon is actually very nutritious. It's, of course, 92% water and 8% sugar. So it's clearly aptly named, but it is really one of the most refreshing and thirst quenching of the fruits. It is high in vitamin A and C. The other thing that I'm not sure I knew when I was doing my research on watermelon is that it actually has a high content of lycopene. And lycopene is actually like an antioxidant, so it's good, and as I always say, good and good for you. So about 15 to 20 milligrams of lycopene per 2 cup serving. And of course, according to the National Watermelon Promotion Board, who aren't, biased at all, some of the highest levels of any type for fresh produce. So that's something that I didn't know. And then, of course, watermelon is low calorie. It's one of those things that's super sweet, but it's only 40 calories per cup. So it's something that you can, it is a good hydrator, but it's also, it's delicious. And again, really great when it's cold. I found out some other things about watermelon, which I thought I would share to you. I wasn't exactly sure where it was from originally, but the origins are from southern Africa, where it still grows in the wild today. The ancestor of the modern watermelon is tough, drought-tolerant, a drought-tolerant plant, prized for its ability to store water for tribes crossing the Kalahari Desert, which I thought was kind of interesting. The first recorded watermelon occurred about 5,000 years ago in Egypt, and it was depicted in Egyptian hieroglyphics on walls of their ancient buildings. Watermelons were often placed in burial tombs of kings to nourish them in the afterlife. As we know, Egyptians were all about the afterlife. And from there, watermelons were brought to countries along the Mediterranean Sea by way of merchant ships. And by the 10th century, watermelon found its way to China, which I didn't know this either. China is now the world's top producer of watermelons. And then later in the 13th century, watermelons were spreading through Europe via the Moors, or the Middle Eastern, or the medieval Muslims. And then eventually watermelons came to the U.S. And is widely consumed here in the United States. So for me, watermelon, eating watermelon as a child and with my siblings was kind of a contact sport. We would often put on our bathing suits so that we could eat watermelon, because we were not only spitting seeds, we were sometimes spitting watermelon at each other. And so we were also, I think some of my fondest memories is just kind of eating a slice of watermelon and having it all over your face. There is a picture somewhere in my picture albums of me and my siblings at my grandmother's house in Virginia, and we had been eating watermelon. We were in our bathing suits, and I'm sure my grandmother was ready to hose us down before she was actually going to let us back into her house, because we were so sticky. It definitely was an all-encompassing activity that usually got watermelon and sweet, sticky stuff all over us. So those are my memories of eating watermelon. And the other thing that I think is interesting about watermelons is that, so the watermelon I'm using today actually does have seeds, but I would say most of us, when we go to the grocery store, find seedless watermelon, which I think has become very popular. People don't want to actually pick out the seeds, but the one that I have today is a seed. It does actually have seeds in it, so it'll be interesting. It'll kind of have that contrast of color with the red and the black seeds. So anyway, I am going to demonstrate today. What I'm going to make is a Mediterranean watermelon salad. And this is from the website The Mediterranean Dish, a food blog by Susie Karadesh. I hope I pronounced that right. And this is something that she remembers making, is that combination of watermelon and feta cheese. So the sweet and the savory was really, and I think that's what makes this dish. And I know there are various variations of this watermelon salad, but I'm going to show the one that that I found today that seemed especially appealing. Again, I'm using a watermelon from my my CSA, my Community Sustained Agriculture, but I'm also going to be using some mint and some basil from my own garden, so that's exciting. So anyway, here we go. So I'm going to move over to my kitchen, and here we are. Okay, hopefully everybody can see what I'm doing here at my kitchen. I have half of watermelon here and that I'm going to chop up in the next little bit here. And then I also have English cucumber. This called for 2 cups. I only had 1 cup, so I'm sorry to say that I'm going to have fewer cucumbers for this, but this calls for 2 cups diced and chopped up. The nice thing about English cucumbers is you don't need to peel them. The skins are really light. And not so tough. I think regular cucumbers here in the U.S. tend to be kind of tough. So that's the cucumber. I have half a watermelon here. I'm going to slice up, which I'm going to do right now. And really, they're just asking for cubes for your salad. And again, this is just a great recipe if you don't want to turn on your oven. I think it would be great with grilling something on the grill and having this as well. Again, this is kind of a sweet and savory, and so I am just chopping this up into cubes. And then we are going to add the herbs. We're going to do that next. And then once we have all that together, we're gonna make the dressing and we're gonna dress it. So again, just as you can see, this is this is from my local CSA, and as you can see, it is a seeded watermelon. So if that's something you really don't want, you can easily get seedless watermelons in your grocery store or at your local produce mart. But this one just happened to have seeds. Okay, so we're getting all our cubes here. Again, this is going to end up being a fairly, big salad. You may not eat all of it for your meal, but what she says is that this will store overnight. You can have it the next day. A lot of times with salads that you dress, especially with greens, it's really tough to have it the next day. The dressing really does kind of make the green soggy, but I think with this one you are good to have this a second day, so that's good. Okay, so we're almost done here chopping up our watermelon. And the other thing about the history of watermelon is I do remember that when they talked about Napoleon's campaign to try to take over Egypt, that was one thing that the soldiers ate while they were there. So, okay, so we have our watermelon and our cucumbers, and now we are going to chop up I have mint from my yard, so these are my mint leaves. It asks for about 15. I just kind of got a handful, and then also basil, and I have a ton of basil in containers on my deck, and so I was glad to find a recipe that was going to call for that as well. So what I am going to do is I'm going to kind of line these up. I'm going to start with my mint, and I'm just going to kind of stack them here, and then just so I can kind of make it easier to chop. So I'm going to put these. This is going to be, I'm not going to be able to do all of this, but so you kind of stack them here, and then you kind of roll them over to make it easier to chop. And see, I kind of have it in a little cigar, and then we're gonna kind of chiffonade the mint. And see, I got little ribbons here, which I think will be really pretty in my salad. So let me just finish this up with the mint, and then we'll get on to the to the basil. So I have one that's got a little stem there. Mint is super easy to grow in your yard. In fact, if you're not careful, it will take over your yard. So I actually have mint in a pot, which seems to be doing really well this summer. It's pretty drought resistant too. I mean, whereas my basil, after a day of really hot, will look pretty wilted, the mint just looks good. Looks really good, and I think it's probably because it's more of an, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why it seems to do better than the basil that seems to wilt at the end of the day. So anyway, that's the mint. And now I'm going to chop up my basil. And again, I'm just kind of making it compact so that I can easily chop my basil. I'm kind of doing a little chiffonade here. And then we'll kind of go back over. So that is my basil. So we're going to have this really nice freshness to the salad, and along with this great dressing. So the dressing is a honey lime dressing, so it is a sweetness along with the watermelon, and then of course we're going to have feta, which is the saltiness. So you're going to have the kind of the sweet and the savory together. So we're going to start this dressing with 2 tablespoons of honey. And I put that in here just so it would be easier to start here. And then it's asking for some lime juice, which I think is going to make this really fresh. This is 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lime juice. I'm going to put that in. And then just a pinch of salt to go in. And I'm not even going to use the whole thing. So then I'm going to kind of start to whisk this up and mix in the lime juice along with the honey. Again, I think this is going to have a really nice flavor with that acidic, have the citrus and the honey. And then lastly, you're going to whisk in about a tablespoon or 2 of extra virgin olive oil. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to just incorporate this, whisk it up, emulsify it, and hopefully it'll come together as this really nice dressing that will go on top of our watermelon and our cucumber and our great herbs. So I have basically incorporated all of the olive oil. Again, this is olive oil, honey, and lime juice, and then just a pinch of salt. So we are going to then pour this honey vinaigrette on top, and then we're going to mix everything up. And I would say probably wise to be kind of gentle with this. You don't want to break up the big pieces of watermelon. You want to kind of keep its shape, and then you're just going to kind of get this all incorporated, and make sure that all of the dressing covers all of the watermelon and the cucumber. As you can see, I wish I had a little bit more cucumber, but it just was not to be. But I think more cucumber probably would have made this even a little bit better. So pretty much all incorporated now. And then you have just these really pretty contrasts of color. You have the watermelon, you have the cucumber, and then you have the really nice pieces of herbs. And then lastly, you're going to put a half a cup of crumbled feta cheese. Now this is 4 ounces, but I think this is I'll probably use most of this to kind of go with this. So that is that, and then we'll just kind of incorporate this, but leave a little bit on top for its presentation. And again, I think this will have a really nice sweet and savory taste. And that's it. Again, this is a very juicy salad. You're going to have a lot of water to this, but I think it will be delicious. So here is my Mediterranean watermelon salad made for another hot day here in Havertown on Kickin' Cooking in Quarantine. So that's it for today. And just wanted to thank everybody for being here. And again, just keep watching and keep sending me your suggestions, and also keep posting on our Kickin' Cookin' in Quarantine Facebook page. I'd love to see your recipes and what you've been making while you've been home and what you're making while it's so hot. So again, thank you for joining me today, and have a great day.